Need your daily fix on mixed martial arts?
We're going to kind of recap Bellator 155, from UFC 198.
Who's who?
Kind of a controversial decision.
And who's not.
I couldn't figure out why, and then it hit me.
Well, don't you fret, because Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your daily dose of MMA podcast. Everything from the UFC, Bellator Fighting Championships, Extreme Cage Fighting, Invicta Fighting Championships, and so much more. Join us as we talk about some of the biggest names in mixed martial arts. We've got you covered here on Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast.
All right, now, thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. I'm your host, and joining with me today is my good friend Will. How you doing there, Will?
I'm doing fantastic. Getting ready for the new year.
So, Will and I were supposed to do this show about an hour ago, but I was busy watching TV. I have this little box called the Tick Box, which allows me to watch television programs from all over the world. And I had stumbled across this show that was being played in Britain, and it's called Naked Attraction. And I saw this, my head almost popped up. I had to show Will, and Will could not stop laughing about this show. It's just give you a little insight. Or do you want to give them an insight of what this show was about?
I just want to say that it's one of the greatest reality shows of all time, and it is prime entertainment, and America needs more things like this.
I think this show would be a huge hit in the U.S. So Naked Attraction it's a show like Naked and Afraid, but actually there's no afraid. That it's a dating show where everyone shows up like the dating game, but everyone's naked except for the initial host, and they date in reverse. So they show the bottom half first, and you have to eliminate someone just on their bottom half. That means then they zoom in, they show everything. So they show the front and the back, and then you eliminate somebody by their, would you say the genitalia, or would you say their legs?
Every single thing.
Everything. There's nothing hidden. And so then once that person's eliminated, then they go up to from the neck down, and you have to eliminate that person, whether it's a male, female. And the cool thing about this show is they show gay, straight, handicap, transgender. They show it all. They're not biased against anyone. Anyway, I saw this show. It's a British show on regular network television, and I just had to show Will, and Will just could not stop laughing.
What I loved most about it was how honest and genuine the people on the show were being. I mean, it's a dating show, but so the person that is choosing between the people and the contestants, they get to kind of like criticize and look at every single part of the body, but they're saying it in such a frank manner that it's not harsh or anything. It's just what they see as the truth. And to bring it back to MMA, which is why I think a lot of people in MMA would like it, because when two fighters enter the ring, you're getting the truth there too. You're going to find out who has the better technique, who has a better skill, who has a stronger mindset, and who's just the winner on that night. And you're going to get a lot of that if you watch this show too.
You know, when you talk about truth, though, you know what the real truth is?
What's that?
Hardcore numbers. And I'm going to transition right on into Showtime just announced the actual results from that McGregor-Mayweather fight. And, what did you get a chance to, what was your thoughts on the numbers?
I was really surprised when the estimates came out really early after the fight. Mm-hmm. But these numbers are what I generally thought it was going to do. I was expecting a little bit more, but I'm pretty happy with what they came out to be.
Okay, so to fill everyone in, The official numbers came out, the domestic numbers. And so there was 4.3 million domestic pay-per-view buys. It brought in a little over $600 million domestically, just meaning in the U.S., which it fell a little short from the record. So the record number was 72 million. Was the record ticket sales, or for the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, and this one reached right about
55 million.
55 million in ticket sales. So it's the second largest event ever. Pay-per-view buys 600 million domestically. Now, if they're just saying 600 million domestic, so worldwide, do you think it reaches $1 billion?
I don't think it reaches $1 billion worldwide.
So how much more do you add to it if you're saying 600 million just in the U.S.?
I'd say a cool million, 2 million.
I mean, it's already 600 million. I mean, you say $1 billion?
Oh, I thought you were talking about pay-per-view buys. In terms of pay-per-view buys, I'd give it another 1 or 2 million pay-per-view buys, which would allot to like probably 400,000 if we're talking about people that watched it via satellite and whatnot. But I'd have to review the numbers from the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, because that was 4.6 million domestic pay-per-view buys, and they made around the same amount in terms of total revenue.
But I mean, I'm looking at total dollars, and I'm saying if they made 600 million in the U.S., just in the UK, and I know the UK, in the US it was $100, in the UK it was like $30-40 translation. I think just in Ireland and the UK, you should be able to at least add another 200 million to that. Would you say? Or
yeah, I would say that easy.
So if you had 200 million, that takes it up to 800 million there, and then the rest of the world. So I'm going to say probably about 900 million would be my guesstimate, but the official number, and I'm surprised they never release a global number, but it's that I know of. So 600 million, my estimate 900 million globally, and I'm going to probably guess, I mean, it's 4.3 million domestic pay-per-view buys. I'm going to say another 2 million globally.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
So about 6.2 million pay-per-view buys globally. This was a big event, but it still shows you how big that Pacquiao Mayweather fight was. And being the king of transitions this episode, speaking of Pacquiao and Mayweather fight and Conor and Mayweather fight, which do you want to go with first? Do we talk about the fact that that Pacquiao wants to fight Conor McGregor?
Well,
so what do you think? What do you think about the fact that everyone is coming out and wanting to, Oscar De La Hoya wants to fight Conor McGregor, Pacquiao wants to fight Conor McGregor, Paulo Malignaggi wants to fight Conor McGregor. We're not even talking about UFC fighters. We're just saying, what's next for Conor, in your opinion?
Well, I can tell you what the biggest fight would be a Mayweather rematch inside the octagon. That would easily be the biggest fight.
I don't think that's gonna.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think people want to pay. I don't think the promoters want to pay that much or risk that. But that's the biggest fight.
You heard. I mean, I watched the recording that Floyd put out, and Floyd said he would be willing to fight in the octagon. And I'm paraphrasing, so I could be, this is the way I took it. Correct me if you got a different one. That he would be willing to fight a 3-fight deal in the UFC, but they would have to pay him $1 billion. And initially, when you hear the word billion, that's a far-fetched number. But when you look at it and you say $3 million, he made $300 million from Conor McGregor. He made $300 million from Manny Pacquiao. That's just a standard rate. A 3-fight deal would be pretty close to $1 billion.
I'd pay him for a 1-fight deal. I don't
think Floyd's going to. Floyd's not going to go in there for one fight. It's going to be. He doesn't need the money. I think it's going to be. It would have to be a 3-fight deal or nothing.
Well, I give him a premium for that 1 fight. because I don't think that. I think he would obviously lose that fight, just based off of how Conor went in and did boxing and how.
I also think Floyd carried Conor a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I still think he would lose that MMA fight because he only does the stand-up portion, and grappling is a major portion of mixed martial arts.
Well, not with Conor. It'd be the kicks that would concern me the most.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The kicks of Conor's kicks would be the one that would be the most shocking. But Conor has a lot of options. But the guy that's really trying to take his options away is Dana White. Dana White just tweeted today that Conor is not fighting. He's not going to box anymore. He's not going to let him box. He has to fight in the UFC. And it sounds like Dana is trying to pressure him into fighting Tony Ferguson. With that being said, what do you think truly is going to be the next move for him?
The next step, I think he's going to be hungry enough to come back, just based off of like his personal mission and what he wants to do in the sport. I would think he's going to come back to mixed martial arts, and he's going to defend his title or have a super fight against whoever it may be. But I definitely see mixed martial arts as the next step. If he wants to venture back into boxing, it'd have to make sense money-wise, and I think Dana's open to that.
Everything that Dana and it's one of those things where do you take Dana at his word? Because traditionally, Dana always goes back on his word. But, and I hate to say it that way and make it like but Dana has gone back on many of the things that he's said in the past. And right now, he's saying steadfast that Conor McGregor is not boxing. But I think, when you look around and you say, the Diaz brothers are just too hard to negotiate with, and they want half the world in order to fight again. So I just don't think the Diaz's are going to be able to put, because of their crazy demands, I think the Diaz fight is off the table. I think all three fights as far as boxing could be on the table and would be made. I think Showtime or HBO would pay for those fights, no problem. I just think the UFC wouldn't be interested. So the most attractive fight out there is GSP, I think. GSP versus Conor McGregor, that would be an interesting fight. You think differently?
No, I totally agree with you. That would be the best fight that they could put on as far as mixed martial arts go. I think the Pacquiao fight would earn more money.
Way more money.
Yeah, way more money, and that's no question. But as far as a extremely competitive fight and something that would be very interesting for mixed martial arts fans to see, I think that would be the best fight you could put on in mixed martial arts.
And see, it's one of those things where, matter of fact, what we're gonna do is we're gonna visit that a little bit more because we're gonna talk about GSP next. We're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the possibility of what's next for GSP, and is this Conor McGregor fight an actual possibility? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and we're back. And in the last segment, we just talked about how Showtime had just came out with the new numbers, the official numbers for the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and how it is the second biggest fight in history. behind Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. So this fight did a little over $600 million in pay-per-view buys. And so we started talking about what's next for Conor McGregor, which then led us into, is it possible that Conor McGregor GSP is maybe the next fight for him? And which, we were talking about, is that the best fight that could be made for Conor McGregor? And is that the best decision for GSP? So fill me in. What's your feelings on a possible GSP Conor McGregor fight, and what do you think GSP should do next?
Well, I've always known that, or suspected that was GSP's mission in coming back. First, he was going to. I think he cherry picked Michael Bisping because that was the easiest fight to make as far as the middleweight title goes and legacy fights.
Yep.
And then when he was, and this is before I found out about the news about him having colitis and having issues with his, just his weight cut and in general, fighting in general, and that's going to sideline him for a while there. But I thought he was going to move down to welterweight and potentially fight the champion there, who currently is Tyron Woodley.
I don't think he wants to fight Tyron Woodley at all.
Well, that's what I thought he was going to do when he came back.
Okay.
He was going to slowly make his way down, and his ultimate goal was definitely the money fight with Conor McGregor, and that fight just always made sense to me.
So the Conor McGregor GSP fight?
Yeah, it always did, because it's a legacy fight, and it's the biggest money fight that's possible in the sport at this moment. If you don't count any potential fights with Brock Lesnar, and it just makes the most sense in terms of size and just the trajectory of both their careers. So I've always liked that fight, and I just want to see it happen. But I'm not sure how that happens or plays out now with both of them having their own outside issues. Conor's made a lot of money. He doesn't have too much left to prove in this game, and the same with GSP. And GSP now he has his health issues, so that's a big if.
All right, and you know what? I'm gonna make two statements here. First off, there's a lot of people that don't believe that about the health issue with GSP, but I truly do believe it. And so I personally think that Conor McGregor and GSP, if I was in their bodies and I had a decision to make, I wouldn't fight. Now, I wouldn't fight anyone else in the UFC whatsoever. I'd be done with the UFC, with the exception of, if you're Conor McGregor, fighting a GSP. That's the biggest fight you can have. I just don't think the second biggest fight you could possibly do is a situation where you actually fight Diaz. But I don't think the Diaz brothers, any of the Diaz brothers are you can negotiate with whatsoever anymore. So the only fight in the UFC that I would take if I was Conor McGregor is GSP. And if I'm GSP, former welterweight champion, former middleweight champion, any fight he takes is a legacy hurting fight. So, and nothing builds his legacy. Let's say he goes back and he fights Tyron Woodley and he wins. Doesn't move the needle. Is he greater today than he was the day after? No.
I think so.
I don't think he will be. Just because I think Tyron, take yourself out of being a MMA expert. You know more about MMA than most. So you give Tyron Woodley a lot more credit than most of the world would give Tyron Woodley. Everybody knows MMA. Tyron Woodley is a beast. But for the people who move the needle, everyone looks at Tyron Woodley as this boring fighter who's a snooze fest, and it's not true at all. Not true at all. Tyron is one of the greatest welterweight champions of all time. I would even, he's one of the top 3 or 4 welterweight champions in history, in my opinion. But the casual fan, the people who will make this a huge fight, it wouldn't be Tyron Woodley. They wouldn't look at it. So if he lost, it would be, a lot of the casual fans would be really shocked if GSP lost and really disappointed. For the very few people that are not novice, they would know this is a major deal. But for everyone else, it wouldn't look good.
I gotta disagree there, because I'm just gonna take this from an aesthetic point of view. When you look at Tyron Woodley, you know that he can put down anybody in this game, and that's heavyweights included. Like, he just has that look to him.
Let me tell you why. Numbers don't lie. Look at his pay-per-view numbers.
Well, he's never had someone as high grossing as someone like a George St. Pierre that can bring the eyeballs to him.
That's what I mean. In order to make, it would still be, when you talk about the A side and B side, George St. Pierre would be the A side, the B side, and C side, and he would just be someone coming along. In which, at that point, I would even say a young Tony Ferguson would be just as big. Like, there's no difference in ranking, in my opinion, as far as the casual fan goes, whether it's Tyron Woodley or Tony Ferguson, or you know what I mean. It wouldn't move the needle enough.
Well, I'm not talking about moving the needle in the sense. I'm talking about legacy fights.
Right, but I'm just saying, when you're looking at legacy, legacy is about big. How big it is. Like for let's say Michael Bisping to fight Dan Henderson. Legacy wise, that's a big fight, but it really wasn't a big fight because Dan Henderson was way past his prime, but everyone knows him, and so it's a big deal that he beat Dan Henderson. But it really wasn't a big deal because Dan Henderson wasn't even a top rated fighter. That's all I'm getting at. It's not. I mean, for the true fan, I agree with you. That would be one for the fan. That's a marquee fight. For the casual fan, there's no difference whether you stick him in the ring, GSP in the ring with Ferguson, Tyron Woodley, Robbie Lawler, or Jerry Lawler. I'm watching. But no matter who, it's just gonna be. It doesn't change the numbers. It doesn't change the legacy. Only thing it could do is hurt his legacy.
Well, I gotta say that it wouldn't change the numbers, but it would change his legacy in terms of him being able to fight across multiple generations. And just to give you guys like a picture of what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about Roger Federer. And if you guys pay attention to any tennis out there, Roger Federer has been great for decades. And he's dominated multiple generations. And that only adds to his legacy. But I got to say, it's riskier for GSP to take on a fight of this magnitude against Tyron Woodley because Tyron Woodley is a monster. And he presents to a risk to GSP probably like none has ever before. And
I would say the dangerous, most dangerous, I put it on par, and it's bad to say this because this person is no longer considered a great fighter. But I put it on the same level, exact same level as GSP versus Johnny Hendricks, where Hendricks wrestling skills, his power. You got to remember, you got to think back to where.
Yeah, when he was just making people go on ice skates and he's just flying back.
When he was a world beater.
Yeah.
Not this new
big pig rig, whatever you want to call him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I put it on the exact same level as that fight was. And matter of fact, I could see it going a lot like that fight. Which means, why would you? It does. I mean, I don't think. Like when you look at now, you go back in history and you say, the Johnny Hendricks fight, it didn't boost up his legacy at all. Whether if he would have retired before the Johnny Hendricks fight, it'd have been no difference. Or he retired afterwards. The only thing that Johnny Hendricks fight could do is hurt his legacy. That's all I mean by that. You see where I'm coming from on that one?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. And maybe it's because I just watched Naked Attraction. But
I was not expecting you to tie that in.
But when I look at both of these fighters, and I'm thinking about the fans that are watching these fights at a bar, and they're getting some of the drinks flowing in their bodies, and they're seeing two of the most aesthetically pleasing fighters and with like superhuman physiques. They're going to, and you can compare Tyron Woodley to Johnny Hendricks. They're going to know, or they're going to see, or they're going to assume that Tyron Woodley is a world beater compared to Johnny Hendricks. And that's going to get people interested in the fight just on face value alone.
But by then, we're talking about the numbers won't be there. I don't think enough eyes will see the fight to make it that big of a deal. I really don't.
Yeah, maybe I'm just taking it from an MMA point of view, but I really want to see that fight. That'd be so cool.
As far as a true UFC fan, that is a dream. That's the fight I think everyone that's a real UFC fan would really want to see. I just think, honestly, if you're the UFC and you're a casual fan, you would rather see GSP, Conor McGregor. That's a legacy fight. That's a fight. Part of your legacy is the big giant media event. If he fights there and he wins, he goes next level. If Conor McGregor wins, he makes what he wants, big dollars.
Can I have it all?
No.
Can I have all the fights? Can I see like a unification bout between Conor and Tony, or Conor and Khabib, or Tony and Khabib
will whip all of them?
Yeah, I would love to see that, and then I would love to see GSP, if he can get his health right, fight against Tyron Woodley while that happens, and then move down and see if he can unify everything.
I think Conor has one fight left in him. One. I mean, I think, matter of fact, I think Conor and GSP has one fight left in him, and that's it.
Do you think this is the fight that they make?
If I'm Conor, no. I don't take this fight. If I'm Conor, I schedule the fight with Pacquiao. I get lawyered up, and I fight the UFC for everything they want, or just say, listen, you can get on board and we can do this Pacquiao fight, or we just go to court. But I'm fighting. I'm fighting in the ring. I'm fighting because Conor can make another 50 to 100 million by fighting Pacquiao. No matter what, I just don't see him. If he fought GSP and Anderson Silva and Royce Gracie at the same time, he's not making 100 million.
Oh, definitely not.
You understand where we're coming? So why would you come back to the UFC? I don't see. I mean, I would fight Dana, or just say, listen, you just signed me up for the very first fighter for Zuffa Boxing, or I just walk. And they need the money. I wouldn't fight in the UFC again. It's just bad news.
Yeah, it would only be a personal decision to fight in the UFC, maybe for some unfinished business or for something personal. If he's looking at it from a business,
is bad business.
Yeah, if he's looking at it from a business point of view, go back in that square circle.
Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just bad business. And the only fight, Conor, you look at who Conor is now. He has taken on the money team persona. It's about the money. Only GSP, maybe Diaz can only bring money. He fights Khabib, nothing. Doesn't, they show whether fighting Khabib could be the same as him fighting anyone on the roster.
Whoa, he fights Khabib in Russia? That's a big event.
Only in Russia.
Yeah. Well, Conor brings eyeballs, and then there's a lot of Russians that love MMA.
But it doesn't change. It wouldn't change anything. I don't think it would change anything. No different if you put Conor on. I mean, with anyone else. I mean, that's like saying, you put Conor in Brazil and have him fight, Yoel Romero. I mean, don't do that, please.
No, don't do it.
It doesn't matter who it's going to be. Conor's going to bring the numbers. The only one, I think GSP Conor's the only big money fight, and then Nate Diaz.
Yeah, those are big fights.
That's it. I don't think there's anything else. If I'm Conor, as far as coming to UFC, those are the only two fights I'm doing, and then I am done. Yeah, I'm not doing any other fights in the UFC. But if I'm Conor, maybe if you're gonna take a boxing match, do you do Pacquiao or do you do Tony Malignaggi?
If you want to win, you want to do Malignaggi. If you want to make a lot more money, you do Pacquiao.
That's my whole point. Now, if you want to win, I honestly think Oscar De La Hoya is the better fighter. Crazy enough, if I was McGregor, I would take the De La Hoya fight and I'd do it like in March. I'd make it a fast turnaround.
Yeah.
So that Oscar comes in there very rusty. I fight Oscar. I think he has a really good chance of taking Oscar out, and then roll right into a Pacquiao fight and announce my retirement.
Those are competitive fights. Maybe by that point, Pacquiao will be more competitive for him. I just don't see his chances.
You're taking Conor winning both of those, any of those fights?
I would give him a good chance to beat Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh, I think matter of fact, I'd make him the favorite to beat Oscar De La Hoya.
I would too, but if you're talking about that Pacquiao fight, Pacquiao's going to take another decade to get to the point where he cannot fight Conor, in my opinion.
Right. De La Hoya has not fought in so long, and when last time he fought, he looked so bad against Manny Pacquiao. He had some drug issues. He had some weight issues. He has to lose weight, get in shape, knock the ring rust off on. That's why I said I would fight De La Hoya really fast. That would be, I'd make it on a big. I'd
do it on Cinco de Mayo.
No, that's too far away.
I would do it on Cinco de Mayo if you want to make more money.
Yeah, but you don't want to give him 6 months to get ready. An in shape Oscar De La Hoya, and I may change my prediction of who's going to win this fight.
Yeah, that's a risky fight right there.
I'm giving him short notice. Yes, let's do this, but we're doing it in 30 days.
Listen, guys, muscle memory is a powerful, powerful tool for athletes. Regardless of how old they are, they will not lose some of that power and that technique that they developed over their entire lives.
You got to use that in advantage. Now, I'm going to change the subject back to GSP, and I want to say there's a lot of people that's really beating up on GSP, and they're saying he knew he was going to do this and all that. You know what? A lot of people are mad at GSP for giving up the title, but the GSP did something that bugs me on me defending GSP. The whole concept of nice guys finish last. GSP did the right thing. I don't want to fight at middleweight, whether it's health issues, whether it's whatever reason. I don't want a giant man punching me in the head. So he knows he doesn't. He could stick around and be like, you know what? Let's round up as many sponsors as humanly possible. We string this out. I say my health issues, and you know what? Maybe I'll wait till December after all my health issues, and then I'll retire in December. He said, you know what? It's wrong for me to hold up the division when I have no interest in fighting in this division. Let Tony Ferguson become champ. And he gave it up.
Robert Whittaker.
Why did I say Tony Ferguson?
Because he's also a champ.
No, because he's another guy there's another guy that's holding up a belt. You know what I mean? There's another guy that should be stripped of the title that's been holding up the belt, Conor McGregor. Robert Whittaker deserves to be champ. GSP knows he has no interest in defending that title, so why not just go ahead and make Robert Whittaker the champ and let him defend the title, which is the right thing to do. Not in MMA, and I'm going to say fighters and promotions rarely do the right thing. GSP did the right thing, and I think the UFC and other fighters should take a page out of his book and do the right thing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the fact that when he did announce that he was going to vacate the title, the first person he called were Luke Rockhold, his camp, and I believe he called Robert Whittaker's camp as well, so that they could start getting ready for their fight. and they could get things in order so that they could move on and the division could move on. That shows that he was willing to just work with everyone else as well.
That's called being classy. And that's something that GSP has in spades, and that's class. And, there's a lot of people that's upset, but a lot of people don't think about how Conor has won 2 titles, held up 2 divisions, and haven't defended not 1 title. And it's bad for the UFC. It's bad for MMA, the UFC, and look at what it's done to the UFC as a whole, because it's really hurt the UFC. GSP is saying, listen, I just won the title. I took a few weeks off. I had some health issues. It's not right. I'm not going to hold it up. I'm giving up the title.
GSP is always going to be a winner and champion in my eyes.
Absolutely. Speaking of a winner and being a champion, when we come back, I'm going to be talking about my giant upset of the month. Stay tuned, and we'll be back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, we're back. And before the break, we were talking about what's next for Conor McGregor and GSP and our thoughts on that. And then we were talking about, upsets and championships. And I said, when we come back, we're going to talk about my upset and my championship, in which I still predict Holly Holm to beat the most unstoppable force in women's mixed martial arts history, Chris Cyborg. And my sidekick, best buddy, partner, thinks I am off my rocker. How you doing, Will?
You crazy. Yeah, I'm taking this bet. I think you're... I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from.
I'm telling you, it is going to happen. Mark your calendar. UFC 219, Saturday, December 30th. The last UFC event of the year is going to end with a 3rd round head kick where Chris Cyborg goes to sleep.
Oh, really?
You should see. I wish we had the cameras in here today, because if you saw the look that Will was giving me, like he's checking my water over here. He's making sure I'm not taking something special. I'm telling you, I said this before. This is the one fighter that is tailor-made for Holly Holm, and I'm going to add to this because I've been watching and hearing a lot about, and I've been watching a lot of stuff that they've been doing with Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm as the lead-in. And one of the things that I found out is that Chris Cyborg is taking this fight very serious. She's bringing in former champions like Mia St. John and a lot of other boxers trying to prepare for a Holly Holm. And that's the best way to prepare to fight a Holly Holm. The big difference is it's really hard to go against your human nature. And that is, Cyborg's job is, her mission is to seek and destroy. That means come at you and wipe you out. And Holly's game plan is to counter punch and use movement, which is tailor-made to a counterpuncher. Always looks better when there's a fighter that's a seek and destroy type fighter. Talk to me, my man.
Well, I agree with where you're coming from. I can see where Cyborg would be vulnerable to counter strikes and to anything that she may throw. But I also watched that Jermaine Durandamy fight. And when,
totally different fighter. Style makes fights.
Well, the thing is, when Jermaine was pressuring her and putting on like a little bit of that pressure and pushing it against her, and I saw some success with this with Miesha Tate as well during Miesha and Holly's fight. I saw timidity in Holly Holm. I saw points where she was vulnerable to getting hurt. And
only time I remember Jermaine Durandamy hurting Holly at any point in time
after the bell.
And that's when Holly relaxed, dropped her hand down, and then boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah, but I saw there were points in the fight where Jermaine tagged her. She actually hit her and got through her defenses, and she doesn't have the power that Cyborg has. I just truly believe that none of the women that Holly's fought has the power that Cyborg possesses. And they don't have that technique and the patient aggressiveness that that is a counter fighter's greatest weakness. I mean, the counter fighter is always looking for moments to attack and wait for attacks to open up. But Cyborg's going to be feinting. She's going to be pressuring her. She's going to make her fight off her back foot. And yes, she's successful. Holly is generally successful being a counter fighter and doing that. And that's been her game plan for a long time now. It's just that Cyborg is at another level in pain, in power and strength and just durability than Holly's seen before.
I say our bet should be, you give me 2-1 odds since Cyborg is going to be the favorite. The winner, if I win, you get to tase me, but since it's 2-1 odds, if you lose, I get to tase you twice.
I'd have to find a taser, but I'll take that bet. I'll take a 2-1 bet.
Do that one because you can die from that one.
Yeah. I don't want to have some heart defect that I find out that day.
This is the last episode of the GSMC podcast because Will is dead from his second tasing.
He made it through the first one like a champ, but that second one just got him. He just stopped talking and it's just over.
It's just a wrap. What are we gonna wager on this one? Do we, or let's say, what do we have to make a wager because I have to get odds because you were taking an overwhelming favorite.
I'll give you 2-1. I'll give you 2-1.
All right, but where are we gonna bet here?
I don't know. I'm willing to bet a lot of things.
I got my Mach 1 Mustang.
I don't have enough capital to do that.
All right, so you don't want the Mach 1. The Jag is in the shop or needs to be in the shop. That's a little too much anyway. What do you got, Will?
I don't know. I don't have a lot of capital. I'll be using that capital to travel the lands.
I get to go to, you get to.
No, we're not trading anything. No trips. No, none of my trips are going to be up for grabs.
I get to replace you on your trip to Asia. Well, I'll leave your girlfriend behind too. I mean, she can stay behind. So I get to take your trip to Asia and you pay for it, and I still won't put up my Mustang. Never mind.
No, you wouldn't do that.
Now, what do you? Couple questions with this fight, and we'll figure out the bet. We'll just keep thinking, but. And I'm not joking when I say this. I do think this is going to happen. I think Holly is going to win this fight by knockout. But if Holly, let's say what I say is true, and Holly knocks out Cyborg in the third round, what does that do to Holly's legacy?
To Holly's legacy?
To Holly's legacy.
Oh, it would catapult her.
First off,
she's the
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Without question, Hall of Famer. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
She beats Chrissy Martley, Ronda Rousey, and Chris Cyborg. Hell, the only thing you need is to just bring Gina Carano back and knock her out and then just cap it off.
Yeah, that would work. It's just that when I look at someone similar,
Like who? Help me with that one. Like who?
Not in women's MMA, but I'm looking
on like men's. Is there someone that like
Fabricio Verdum? He beat Fedor. He went to UFC and he beat Cain Velasquez. Mm-hmm. And he's also beaten a lot of top heavyweights that were considered the best of all the time.
And he was champ.
Yeah, but he still doesn't get credit as one of the greatest of all time.
But he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I just don't think you're elevated to that.
But
extent.
It's a little different between Fedor and, beating Fedor and Cain Velasquez. It's like you knock out Royce Gracie at his peak. You know what I mean? And then you come back and you knock out Anderson Silva and Matt Hughes at their peak.
It was Fedor's peak, though. He didn't lose. He didn't lose before that. He was the first person they beat him, and then Cain Velasquez.
I think that's the closest thing to anyone doing that. But you know what I mean? Fedor. Wait, I just look at it as like Ronda is the. It's kind of weird to say instead of Godfather, the godmother of women's MMA.
Yes, she is.
She really is.
She was the equivalent of Royce Gracie and maybe another fight, maybe another champion during. Because she had multiple styles.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of the way you know what I mean? You knocked, I mean, and even in boxing, Chrissy Marley is, the coal miner daughter. She was a big name in women's boxing, a big name, and Holly got her. Ronda, the godfather of women's mixed martial arts, or the godmother of mixed martial arts. Got her. The most, it's like now she's about to take on the Mike Tyson, George Foreman of the history of boxing, and she takes her out too. It's bigger than. I mean, I think Fabricio's a really good one. I thought about Rashard Evans knocking out Chuck Liddell. It's still not on that level. I don't think anyone in the history of sports has ever done what she could do this month.
No, I don't think that she's been able. There has been someone that's just beaten the best world beaters in the fashion that you projecting, right? As long as she beats Cyborg, but I don't think.
What if she beats her? And forget about the knockout. What if she beats her in any kind of way?
Even then, even then, it doesn't take away that she beat her, and it would be even more impressive to me if she beat her in those fashion too, like completely dominated her.
It's crazy, but she becomes a Hall of Famer instantly. Know who she is?
Who?
She's Eli Manning at that point.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a perfect one right there.
Not really. Eli Manning is not one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he put together two major upsets where he won 2 Super Bowls, and he's gonna be a Hall of Famer strictly off of winning 2 Super Bowls.
That was a perfect analogy. I mean, that was perfect because they were coming off 18-0, 17-0 or 18-0, 18-0.
They went 16-0 in the regular season. So 18-0.
Yeah, 18-0 into that game. You got
and cancel Christmas.
Yeah, that's a great cat. I was just thinking
Holly
of Manningham
is the Eli Manning of mixed martial arts.
Yeah, that would be what would happen in Tate's dreams.
Well, for the record, I just want you to know, I predicted that the Giants would beat New England in that Super Bowl. For the record, just to let you know.
The second time around,
I actually picked them both times.
Oh, did you?
Yes, that's one of the things I did because. Now, in biasness, I don't like the Patriots. So for every Boston fans, I apologize. Matter of fact, it's weird when you talk about football. I'm a huge Michigan Wolverines fan. Always have been. But I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. But I'm not a Bill Belichick fan. And I've always said he was overrated. And now now that I've looked at the full body of work, I changed my, even though I'm not a fan of either one of them, I now move Bill Belichick as the greatest coach of all time. and I make Tom Brady one of my top 3 quarterbacks of all time. So even though I'm not a fan, I still put them very highly ranked.
Oh, who are the other two? You got Joe Montana, and then who else?
Joe Montana, my butt.
What? You got a winner right there.
Listen, San Francisco boy. My number 1 quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning. Number 2, Dan Marino. Number 3, Tom Brady. That's my picks. I know we're just getting way off the beaten path.
All right. Let's get back to MMA. We'll talk about football later. Maybe another podcast.
And anyone that don't like my comments, you can send me a tweet and give me your top 3 quarterbacks as well. So just saying. But back to Holly and Chris. Make sure it's not being twisted around. I am a huge Chris Cyborg fan. And matter of fact, I love Chris Cyborg. I think she's been overlooked for years. I think she truly is the greatest women's mixed martial correction. The greatest female combat fighter in the history of sports. When the reason why I say that, not just MMA, not just UFC, combat, anything. I mean even checkers when you throw it at your partner. Cyborg's the best. Anything violent, and with women, I put Cyborg as number 1. Just to let you know. Tiddlywinks with an elbow, Cyborg.
Hard to disagree with you considering the body of work.
Yes, so you don't agree with me because I see the look you're saying.
No, it's hard to disagree with you. I just don't agree with some of the methods that she used to get to the level that she is.
Oh, this is right.
I'm not even a Cyborg fan.
But Will's not a Cyborg fan.
You made me a Cyborg fan because
yes.
I just see her destroying Holly.
I forgot about you're not a Cyborg. See, I'm a huge Cyborg fan.
Look what you've made me do.
So I've made Will jump in the corner of the fighter that the women's fighter that he likes the least. Right?
I'm actually rooting for Holly. I'm sorry. I can bet on someone and root against them at the same time.
And the thing about it is, I hate to pull a Sarah card. Sarah, which is the host of the women's MMA show, but where Sarah doesn't even want to watch the fight. She wants them both to win. I am a huge fan of both of these fighters, and and hate to see there be a loser. And I don't want to see Cyborg. I don't want to see Cyborg lose. But I just think it's just styles make fights, and the movement, everything, it's there. I think if you're looking at this, another factor is I've yet to see Cyborg make it into the late rounds effectively.
I've seen her fight in Muay Thai fights, but that's a different game. But I also
know what happened in Muay Thai as well, don't we?
Well, she won a lot of fights, and she was very competitive.
And what happened in Muay Thai?
She did very great. She lost a fight against Jarina Bars, I believe.
I forget her name, but yes.
But she's won most of her fights.
How did she lose?
I don't believe she lost by TKO. I think she lost by decision.
No, it was a stoppage.
Really?
I'm almost positive it was a stoppage.
At least I saw one of her fights, Jarina Bars, was pretty competitive. I think they went to a decision.
Keep going on that one as I look that up.
Well, anyways, I don't see this fight hitting the ground unless Cyborg wants to take it to the ground. So I honestly do believe that she's a better fighter standing up than Holly is. I think Holly may have the endurance factor, but I just don't see it getting to that stage in this fight. So I'm going to have to go with Cyborg, begrudgingly.
Let's see here. Did she had a notes contest?
No, those are all mixed martial arts rankings and records.
Yeah, that's just MMA. She had a loss very early, but that was way back in what organization was that in?
Which one?
Show Fight 2. I don't even remember.
She lost by submission, leg lock. Those leg locks
back in the days. So, all right. So that concludes what we were talking about with this Chris Cyborg. We still have to figure out real quick what kind of wager.
Let's do some push-ups. Can you still do push-ups?
Oh, dude, you know I can. How many? Okay. So if I lose, how many push-ups do you want me to do?
I want you to do 200 push-ups.
That means you have to do.
I'll do 400. I'll do 400 if I lose.
You got a deal. I like that.
I will both win, regardless.
Yeah, because I can do 100 push-ups. I can do.
Yeah, but 200. Ooh, that's gonna get you tired.
Oh, so yeah,
I'm gonna be dead at 400, but it's not gonna happen, so it's fine.
And how many hours do we get?
You get how many hours? How many hundreds? So you would have 2 hours because you have 200 push-ups, and I have 400 push-ups, so I get 4 hours.
No. I'm getting the 2 to 1. It's the opposite. I get 4 hours. You get 2 hours.
I'm doing 400.
But I still get 2 to 1 on time and.
So you would be able to do 200 in 1 hour?
4. No, so I have to do 4 hours, and you have 2 hours to do double. That's the benefit I'm taking. I'm taking the underdog.
So what happens if I can't do the push-ups? That's a lot of push-ups.
I go to Japan and Thailand.
No, you're not going to. I'm going to Korea. Korea's gonna be cool. All right.
If you don't hit the time, then you have to do an additional 100.
All right, give me an hour and a half. I think that's more realistic. That's a lot of fatigue. How many push-ups are you talking about? Legit push-ups? Because that's a really difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Because I know I can knock out the first 100 no problem. I don't see a problem with the first 100.
I could bust out 75 in a row. Perfect.
I can't do 75 in a row. I can do 50. I can do 50, break, another 50.
I'd probably do it at that point too.
And then I'm in a world of hurt after 100. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I will be hurting.
Yeah, 200. After 200, I'll be
400.
After 200, I'd be dead. I don't see my arms working. But
I like it though. I love it.
Okay,
I got 4 hours.
Let's do 150 and let's do 150 and 300.
Yeah, because you know I can do the push-ups. I
know you can do the push-ups, but it's still gonna get you working.
Yeah. Oh no! After the 100,
I can do
I'm in a world of hurt after 100.
I'm in a world of hurt after 150, 200.
Yeah.
After 200,
I'm not gonna lie to you. After 100 push-ups, it is a wrap for me. I am gonna be in a world of trouble.
So how much? So the time is the main factor here. I feel like we're going through a negotiation where we're doing the Diaz and Conor McGregor
you
negotiation.
Agree to 2 to 1.
2 to 1. All right.
So do you want to go to make it a 100 and
No, you're gonna do 100 easy. That's just too easy.
Yeah,
I need to feel the pain that Holly Holm feels when she gets into the ring with Cyborg.
Oh yes.
So I'll say 150 for you, and then 300 for me, and I'll give myself.
Yeah, because that last 50, I'll do a 50 break, 50 again, and then. But after that, holy crap! But I got 4 hours.
No, you could get 2. You could get 2 hours. I'll give me 1 hour.
Okay. Ooh, bro, you're gonna die. No. Okay, write it down.
No. How about this?
Oh, look at this, because I'm in.
An hour and a half.
Okay.
For me, and then 3 hours for you, because that would make it equivalent to.
That's fair.
Oh man, you're gonna be so tired after that 100.
Yeah, I can. The 100. No, the 100. I'm hurt. After 100, I'm hurt.
Yeah, you're gonna be so tired.
But I can do 100. I can
do 200.
Yeah, I can do. So I get 3 hours to do 100 push-ups, 150.
150 push-ups.
All right. There's a piece of paper right there. Write that down.
All right, we writing the contract, sending it in place. All right, I'm getting this paper.
So, on air, we have just made a deal. Let me see. I don't even know.
This is a birthday hat.
No, go ahead and write it on that.
All right,
that's
something.
So we've just made a deal. I am taking Holly Holm to win at 2 to 1 odds, and Will is taking Chris Cyborg. If I win, Will has to do 300 push-ups in an hour and a half. And if I lose, I have to do 150 in 3 hours. That is no problem. Not on my side, it's not.
I'll be fine. I'm young.
Yes.
But I'm just so confident in it not being an issue because you'll be doing the 150 and I'll just be
And I just want you to remember that when at our old office on our break, you've seen me do 50 push-ups just on my break.
I haven't.
Oh no, you haven't?
No, that was Dominic.
That was Dominic. Okay, yes. Doing 50, a batch of 50 wouldn't be a problem.
No, you're gonna be doing a lot of push-ups. You're gonna be doing 3 times that many push-ups.
Yes. Now, so Holly, I am pulling for you. Cyborg, I love you, and I would like to pay you right now to fix this fight. I love this bet that it's. Now, see, it may be because I've had some health issues. It's going to be a little tougher than normal this time.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. You're so confident in Holly being the Eli Manning of MMA.
What do you think about me taking that bet?
I think you're going to be doing 150 push-ups. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Are you remotely a little concerned about 300?
I'm not concerned. Regardless, I win.
Okay. And for that, are we going to... I was going to say, you know what? When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the fights that are coming up and some of the past fights. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and one championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right. Now we actually have a solid bet. In the last segment, we talked about the Holly Holm Chris Cyborg fight, and Will and I have actually made an official bet. If Chris Cyborg does what she does best, and that is chew her opponents up and spit them out, yours truly, Tate, your host, will have to do a grand total of 150 push-ups in 3 hours. 3 hours. I got this. No problem. I'm not even going to train for this because I don't have to worry because my girl Holly got me covered. But if the Eli Manning, the legend killer, Holly Holm comes through, nails Cyborg with that high kick, and wins, my co-host, my great friend, Will has to do 300 push-ups in an hour and a half. Not 1, not 2, but 3 push-ups in an hour and a half. How you feeling, Will?
I'm doing great. I feel great. I'm going to be able to knock it down because I won't be doing anything.
Will's going to be training. Will said he's just going to be training for push-ups this whole thing.
I'm just going to train to do push-ups just for my general health and wellness.
I'm not doing jack. I'm eating donuts this whole thing going up to it. Matter of fact, I may bring a Big Mac to the fight that night just to eat it.
That's a lot of time I gave you. I should have made it an hour. I should have made mine. I can't do 300 push-ups in 30 minutes. That's just ridiculous. Man,
yep.
Can I?
No,
I
you
can't.
can't.
I
I'm going to
can't.
tell you that
I
right now.
can't do that. I can't do it.
And everything's signed. We already got it signed.
Yeah, we wrote up a contract here. We got all signed up.
We wrote up a contract, and it is official. I got 3 hours to do 150 push-ups. That I can do. First off, everyone, I can knock out 50 right now, untrained, fat, bloated. So I can knock out 50. Go take a nap for an hour, eat some Twinkies, come back, do another 50, and then struggle through that last 50.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm aiming for. That struggle. That's all I need to...
That last 50, if I lose, that last 50 is going to kick my butt. The 100, I got that. The 150, that's going to hurt. But not like my man Will. 300 push-ups. That's crazy. But I know Will. Will will get there. And matter of fact, starting tonight, Will's going to be starting to gear up for push-ups. Are you not?
You're right. I'm already visualizing
mentally, you're doing push-ups.
I'm already doing it right now.
Right now, you're doing push-ups, aren't you?
I'm already doing it. But I won't need to do them. I won't need to do these push-ups at all.
So there we have it. Now let's talk about some of the other fights, because we haven't had a show in a little while, and so let's talk about some of the fights that have just recently passed here. And the big one is the whole fight between Francis Ngannou versus I was about to say Fabricio Verdum. That wasn't Fabricio. That was help me. I keep saying
Alistair Overeem.
Yes, Alistair. First off, something that everyone in the know has been saying this. Everyone, Francis Ngannou is just a beast of a man. And he really, really proved it. And now he's scheduled to fight for the heavyweight title against against one of my favorite Ohio guys here. And wait, we're looking at...
Yeah, we're looking at UFC 220.
Yeah, UFC 220 is when he's going to be fighting Stipe, which is kind of a fast turnaround. And
he did not take any damage.
He took no damage at all.
He doled out so much damage.
You know what? I that was one of the few times. MMA is such a violent sport, but it's super safe compared to boxing. That Alistair Overeem fight was the first time I was truly worried about a fighter in the ring. When Francis hit him with that shot and it landed, and he just stayed there stiff for over a minute, just stiff as a board, I was really, truly concerned for Alistair's, well-being. I remember Joe Rogan saying his feet are still curled up. He was just frozen. What did you think about that fight, and what do you think about his chances against Stipe?
I was really kind of confused with why Alistair was kind of throwing a lot of loopy, unorthodox punches, but maybe he was thinking that Ngannou would not be ready for that. So I saw a lot of openings that Ngannou could capitalize on it, and he definitely did capitalize on them. And that knockout was nasty. His chin went almost vertical. Like it was just, and his whole body froze up. That was one of the most devastating knockouts I've ever seen. The only knockout I would put over it, as far as me being concerned about the health of the fighter, would probably be the Michael Venom Page knee to Evangelist Cyborg, where he actually dented his head.
Now, see, here's the crazy thing. I saw both of those, and I still say Francis Ngannou's knockout was more devastating than even that, which put a knee-sized dent in Cyborg's head. It just seemed that...
There's just so much power in it.
Yeah, Alistair's head just went straight back, where it was like, I was worried that he hurt his neck. or something like that. I'd never seen anything like that. And I think back to Alistair when he fought Stipe. And remember when Alistair cracked Stipe and Stipe?
Yeah, it was a straight punch.
Francis hits even harder. If he makes the same mistake that Stipe makes the same mistake he made with Alistair, he won't get a chance to get out of there. And as far as what Alistair did, I understood his game plan. He got in there and he was trying to smother him. He was trying to cover him up. He was trying to hit him with hard shots that would make him respect his power. That was his game plan, to cover him up and hit him with hard shots that would make him respect the power. The difference is when he tried to tie him up, Francis was ready for it, and also I think he was a little surprised that Francis was a lot stronger than he had experienced before. And so I thought that was a surprise. And then when he got nailed, he just shut off. And so I think I understood his game plan, but enacting the game plan, maybe you should have rethought that game plan. But yeah, matter of fact, I think if you had that fight again, I think the outcome would be the same.
I think so too, but I think the only way that you can really beat Ngannou at this point in his career is to stick and move and try your best to just really land quick shots and get out of there as soon as possible. And just know that if he touches you, it's lights out, which is anybody in the heavyweight division. It's just that I think with this fight, what intrigues me is that Miocic has very technical boxing skills. And he comes from a Golden Gloves background, so I give him a better chance of being able to capitalize on the openings there, and being able to bring him into deeper waters.
I don't see it as the wrestling. I mean, as the boxing, I think it's the wrestling skill that's going to have to be the key. And yet, have you seen anyone take him down yet?
We saw Curtis Blades take him down for a brief amount of time.
Did I miss that fight? I don't ever remember seeing him going down. So how did he handle being on the mat?
I don't think he was on the ground for very long, and he just got back up, or time ran out.
I thought I saw all of Francis his fights.
That was the closest fight and the most adversity that he's faced in his career. I believe he was taken to the ground. I'd have to review it again, but I don't think it showed anything of significance.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you this. He has advanced light years since working at the UFC Institute. So, even going back and watching some of his old fights isn't really a good indicator of who you're going to step in the ring with.
Yeah, he's a completely new fighter, and it's scary how good he's becoming, and it's really scary his power. I mean, they measured his punch before this fight.
I know.
He punches harder than anyone that's ever been recorded. He does not want to get hit by him.
That's Tyson. That's Holyfield. That's GSP. That's Cain Velasquez. He hits harder than all of them.
And it's not just he has the muscles, but he also has the length, and that's what's scary about him. That's what makes him just
he's fast too. He has speed too.
So fast.
I mean, it's crazy. First off, Stipe is the underdog. Could be one of the best, arguably one of the greatest heavyweight champions in UFC history. Is that crazy to say that?
It's not crazy.
One of the greatest heavyweight champions in UFC history, and he's going to be the underdog. And one of the guys I really like, he's from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, and I support him a lot. And I don't really see a game plan of how he wins.
You just have to be versatile and really bring it into deep waters, because we haven't seen Ngannou in deep waters. That's another thing. He's carrying a lot of muscle.
That's the reason why I kept saying that Fabricio is the one guy that can get him, because Fabricio fights the tactic of sometimes just laying hands on you, just keeping you at bay, using boxing skills and movement a lot of times. Fabricio's very good at that.
But he does not have the chin to sustain the hits.
But see, I think that part's irrelevant. It's kind of crazy to say that. He hits so hard that everyone's chin is irrelevant.
Yeah.
whether you have a weak chin or a strong chin, if he hits you, you're going to sleep. Do you not feel that way?
I feel that way. It's just that I think that some fighters are more defensively capable, and I don't see Fabricio as one of those fighters. I think Stipe has much better defense than
Stipe. I mean, I'm hoping that Stipe can take him to deep water. I think the one thing about big muscular fighters is the fact that as the fight goes on, the power reserves go away, and you have to survive that first round, because I think he was going to put you to sleep in the first round. I think after the first round, exponentially the power goes down. And now I'm just taking this. I'm taking this approach from other larger, more muscular fighters and what happens to them. I really don't know what to expect with Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, I really don't. There's so many unknowns about him, and that's what makes him even scarier. Best of luck to Stipe Miocic. I mean, if anybody should be clamoring for more money and more pay to go into a fight, it should be based on risk, and should be based on a lot of stuff like that as well. And honestly, I don't think there's a riskier fight than this fight.
I think this is a risk. It's crazy to say this is the most dangerous fight Stipe would have ever had in his life.
Ever. Who do you have in this fight?
I got Francis. I mean, it breaks my heart to go against
OH.
a clear. I'm from Ohio. I'm a big Stipe fan.
OH.
There he goes. I got to take Francis. I have yet to see anyone figure out this man, this beast of a man. I just don't. I don't see an answer.
Yeah, I don't see an answer for that power.
So
I really don't see an answer. I'm taking Francis as well. I'm taking it in the first round or second. I'm taking it in the first round. End of the first round.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I think he's going to knock him out in the first round. That's crazy to say that. I'm saying something. I'm giving you my prediction, and it's from someone who is a monstrous Stipe Miocic fan. I'm the guy, when he won the title, started calling up all my friends in Ohio and like, get behind this guy. He's the guy that brought the first championship to Cleveland in 50 years. It wasn't LeBron. It wasn't the Indians. It was Stipe Miocic, and the people of Ohio should get behind him. But I think I'm looking at a first round knockout. I just don't see anyone until you figure this out. I don't see anyone stopping this guy.
I don't either. I really don't. Not if Cain Velasquez gets back. If Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos are doing a 2v1, he still have a good shot.
Yeah,
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel like we're on the cusp of seeing greatness. And what I mean by that is, when I was younger, remember when when Mike Tyson started coming along and he was fighting, and what happened and how there was a point where Tyson was fighting like every other month. Francis Ngannou could be that next Tyson. And you know what I mean? It could, with the power that he has, it could happen. This could be the biggest, and you talk about bringing the UFC on. If you have a dominant heavyweight champion, that changes everything.
Everyone wants to watch a heavyweight fight. There is nobody.
When you have a power-packed heavyweight champion, you can print money by that guy. And this is a guy I think that's could be that guy. Now, real quick before we wrap things up here, I wanted to talk about some of the other fights that have happened that we haven't had a chance to cover. What was your thought also on this card, UFC 218, about Max Holloway and Jose Aldo? Just take a couple minutes.
I was really happy with that fight. It showed the championship spirit of both of them. I just think that Holloway just has Aldo's number. Maybe I don't think that Aldo's lost a step, honestly. I just think that the game has changed and adapted to the point where he can't be as dominant as he once was. I think he beats everyone else in the division, though. It's just that Holloway is a next level champion. He's more well-rounded. He has better cardio. He's bigger. He's longer. He just had all the answers for Aldo. And in Aldo's defense, he put up a great fight. It's just that he wasn't able to have the cardio to stay in with it. He was taking too many shots. He got lured into a slugfest. And Holloway knew that he could take Aldo's power. So it was just a matter of time. And the end came in the third round, towards the end of the third round. And I thought it was a fair stoppage. I thought the referee gave Aldo all the chances possible. Aldo showed a lot of heart trying to get out of it, but you're not defending yourself intelligently, and it was a repeat of the first fight in that sense, and it was just over from that point on.
All right. I'm going to say it this way, as Max Holloway won with a third round stoppage. Nothing surprised me in this fight, not even a second. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised it wasn't more dominant. And I agree with you that Jose Aldo has not lost a step. Jose Aldo is still the same man who defended the title for a decade. He's just as good. He's not old. He hasn't lost a step. But the new quad core processors have come out, and they're doing calculations just way too fast. He's a Pentium 1 processing computer, and he still can do calculations and play the old Tecmo Bowl games on this computer. But now the Max Holloway, he's doing Call of Duty, and he's doing your taxes, and he's doing everything else because he's multitasking. He's just that much better than him. And I don't care if they fight again. Jose Aldo needs to pack up his suitcase and go to a different division, because no matter how many times he fights, he's going to get destroyed by Max Holloway. They're just not on the same page any longer.
Yeah, and I don't even see going up in weight would be a good decision for him. I don't even see him possibly losing enough muscle and draining himself to go into the bantamweight division either. So I don't think this gets better for Jose Aldo. I think this is his run as a champion was the best that he could have done.
Yeah, I just don't see. The other thing would be to just sit there and hold your time and hope that, because I think a wrestler may be the one, like a Frankie or Frankie or
Chad is coming.
Chad
back
Mendez.
Well.
Those are two guys that could make it really ugly for Max Holloway, make it an ugly, rough, kind of grappling kind of a fight. And that's where I think Max you can take Max. But on standing up, there's no answer for Max Holloway in that division whatsoever. And there's no equal to Max Holloway in that division whatsoever. Because Conor's not coming back down. Conor's not coming back down to fight in that division. So it's a wrap there. I just think it's that division is just over. Unless somebody can use grappling to handle Max for the next foreseeable future, Max is the champion here. I just think he's that far ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, and I don't even see Chad and Frankie faring well. I don't see them being able to continue to implement the grappling game on him while getting a hit in the face with a lot of stand-up that he has to throw at them. I think if Conor was to go back down, that would be the best fight that we would be able to see. And at that point, it's very interesting.
And that's the last person to make Max Holloway look mortal.
Yeah, definitely. That was the only person in UFC history that, well, actually, it changed since Diaz fights. But that was the first person that Conor took to a decision.
Right. Now, let's talk about another fight on this card. And as you were talking about UFC 218, and we just talked about Francis Ngannou over Alistair Overeem and Max Holloway. And the reason why we're talking about that fight is just because we had not had a show since then. The best fight, I'm going to say, my favorite fight in the history, not of the UFC, but of all mixed martial arts. My favorite fight ever. Eddie Alvarez Justin Gaethje.
That was your favorite fight ever?
Ever.
That was an amazing fight.
Ever. Do you agree that, you know, if it's not your favorite fight, it has to be one of your greatest fights of all time? Am I off?
It's in my top 10.
Ooh, you said top 10. I'm saying in my eyes, number 1. So what? Let me guess. It's gonna be it's gonna be Fedor versus who? I know you love your Fedor.
No, there's no Fedor fight that goes to top. When I'm thinking about a competitive fight between two individuals that really goes to distance, I have to have it go back and forth. And Fedor definitely didn't do that back in the day. Let's just be... And to be honest, I think Justin had even a better fight in the UFC against Michael Johnson. I thought that fight was more entertaining.
I want you to go sit in the corner and think about your words.
I think the level...
And I want you to write on the board 10,000 times, I'm sorry for betting Tate about Cyborg because I'm making bad takes right now.
No, I'm not making a bad take. I think that fight was more evenly matched.
Yeah, I mean, it's evenly matched, but it just saying for pure entertainment. I understand as far as you like the give and take on both sides. I thought these two guys really went at it.
I thought they really went at it, but I had Eddie winning a lot of these exchanges more so than Gaethje.
Oh, I agree with you. Yes.
So that was why it was hard for me to kind of give it to him, because I saw some type of advantage. I'm not going to say dominance, but I saw advantages, and then I loved how Justin Gaethje was fighting back with the leg kicks and really incorporating that in the game, and it was really back and forth in that battle. But as far as like one of the greatest fights of all time, I wouldn't give it that.
I didn't say greatest fight. I said my favorite.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying that.
There's a difference between the greatest fight and my favorite fight.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie Alvarez. This does a lot for him and gets him right back in the title picture. Do you agree?
I do, but I would also like to see him fight Dustin Poirier again.
Well, yeah, but see, I'm just saying it gets him in the title picture.
Yeah. He definitely needed that.
Justin Gaethje, I think, is in trouble. And let me tell you why. The one thing about Justin Gaethje was the fact that he had that mentality of, I'm going for broke. And it bit him in the butt. And he's been knocked out now. I think he needs to change his style. But if he changes his style, he's not the same fighter anymore. I don't think it's one of those things where no one ever thought that he was always going to be an entertaining fighter, but the style that he has, like the fight before this one, he got rocked. There's guys that hit harder, a lot more accurate, that's going to crack him. And if he wants to be a champion contender, he has to go back to the drawing board and change his entire style, which is going to be really hard. Am I off on that?
I don't think you're off, but I also don't think that he cares too much. I literally think he's a fighter to fight. I think he always used to say that I'm either going there to kill the guy, I'm going to knock him out, or I'm going to get knocked out. And I know I'm going to lose eventually, and I'll be happier with a loss via knockout than I would be losing a decision or even winning by a decision. That's the type of person he is.
I think it's just a bad way to fight. I think it puts him in a really, I just don't think if a title is in his future, it's proves to be a bad style. And
I agree with you that it's a bad style if you want to be at the top echelon of this game. But as far as entertaining fighter and someone that I'll always love to watch, he's right up there.
All right. Now let's move on to this past weekend's fight with Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega, where Brian Ortega had a second round stoppage guillotine choke. What does this do? What does this fight do for these two guys? Brian, do you think Brian Ortega deserves a title shot first off? And what does this do for Cub Swanson?
If Frankie Edgar wasn't waiting in the wings, I think that it would be a great next move. But Frankie's waiting in the wings, so Brian can wait as well, or he can get another fight. But it was a really elevating fight for him as far as his career goes.
I personally think Brian Ortega needs to have one more fight before he gets a title shot. I don't have him ready for a title shot yet. I think he needs to prove it. Another fight would get him to where he needs to be.
Would you like to see an easier fight, or would you like to see him fight someone like Chad Mendes on his comeback? Because Chad is coming off a loss.
No,
so I think
I
Chad
want to
needs
see
to
him
tune
fight.
up. Who you want to see fight?
It's going to sound crazy. Jose Aldo.
I would want, honestly, I want to see Jose Aldo and Chad fight.
I don't. That's been done.
Yeah, but they're both at a similar stage in their careers where they're trying to rebound from losses.
I think by putting Chad, I think Chad Mendes, I think it'd be too smart to take a fight like that. It doesn't, I don't think it only hurts him. He's coming off a suspension. His last time anyone remembers him fighting is losing to Conor McGregor. I wouldn't take that fight if I was Chad Mendes. But Jose Aldo, I think Jose would take this fight against Brian Ortega because, you know, he wants, and this would get him a championship level fighter going. You know, if he wins, he's guaranteed the next fight. That's my thoughts. But it's also a very dangerous fight where if Brian loses this fight, then who does Holloway fight next?
Yeah, they would.
But you can't give Chad Mendes a title shot. So
they could.
You could, but it's just a bad decision.
Yeah.
I you know what? I take it back. I think they have no choice. Frankie Edgar. I think Brian Ortega. No, they have to give Brian Ortega a fight. Because if you think about it, Frankie Edgar, that fight's not going to happen for a while.
No, it may happen
summer.
Next year.
Yeah, summer.
Maybe earlier. Maybe April.
Oh, let's compromise and say May.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's May, that fight happens in May, and then let's say it's a battle, and let's say he wins, and let's say Jose Aldo wins. Then you're talking about June, July, August, September, October. So you're talking about October before Brian Ortega fights again, which would be almost a year.
Yeah.
He has to fight. He has to fight somebody. Because you know what I mean. He's not going to be Max Holloway, who Max Holloway just fought a very tough fight. Now, earliest I say he's going to fight is May. That puts him at one more fight this year in 2018. That puts it way down. Ortega has to fight somebody, and it has to be a tough fighter. He's already taken out Cub. Is he going to take a fight that's a guy that's way down the line? So the most logical person really is if Frankie Edgar is fighting Max Holloway, then Jose Aldo versus Ortega sounds about right.
Yeah, I can see that. I just want Jose to get some rest. Honestly, I'm looking at it from his perspective. He's just lost twice in a row in devastating fashion.
It's a bad decision, but there's no one else for Brian Ortega to fight.
Yeah, and I like his chances against Jose Aldo. To be honest,
isn't that kind of crazy that we've gone to the point where it's like Jose Aldo is now a placeholder.
Well, he's been slightly undersized for a very long time. Ever since he got into UFC, the only person that was his not like size-wise comparatively was Chad Mendes.
Right. No, I agree with you.
So it's just something about Brian Ortega where he can just notch a submission out of nowhere, and that's what's so dangerous about him. He's a next level jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts.
Now, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is, what are we talking about here today? We're going to actually talk about the upcoming fight in the UFC, which is tomorrow night's fight. And tell me, who do you have for? Let's see. Do I have this here? Let's see. What's the main event? Sorry about that. Here.
The main event would be Robbie Lawler versus Rafael dos Anjos.
Who do you have and why?
I have Dos Anjos. Lawler's coming off a long layoff, since he got knocked
No, he just fought Cowboy Cerrone.
No, he literally just came back. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, he hasn't fought that great of competition though. Forgive me, Cowboy, but you're not at the level that you used to be.
I kind of thought Cowboy was a lot closer than people thought.
I just don't. It was a close fight between them, but I think Rafael dos Anjos is another level. He's fit into this weight class very well. He doesn't have to cut weight anymore. He's shown a lot of what made him successful as champion in the lightweight division. And I think he cracks Lawler and gets a knockout to win this one.
I have Rafael dos Anjos winning as well. And the reason why I have it is Lawler loves to swing. He loves to apply pressure early in the fight. And he likes to throw a lot of looping shots where Rafael dos Anjos likes to engage, but he likes to engage with like overhand rights, jabs, straight down the pike type shots, where I think makes Lawler very vulnerable, where Lawler has been caught and has been stopped. I have Rafael dos Anjos winning in early, like first, second round. You're looking at me like I'm crazy again.
No, I would say second round. I would agree second, third, but we're generally looking at a knockout.
Yeah. So that's what I have for this fight. We're going to wrap it up with any thoughts on they're going to be starting the Bellator event for the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's going to be
any Bellator things that you want to talk about?
I'm looking forward to the fight between Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima. And I'm looking forward to that first. I'm actually getting more intrigued as time goes by with that Chael Sonnen Rampage Jackson fight. Just mainly for the theatrics of it.
I am too. The funny thing is, I don't know who's going to win.
Me neither.
I'm taking Chael just because of the wrestling. I think if Chael can get him on the ground early, I think Rampage will run out of gas fast and it'll be a wrap.
I would lean more towards Rampage hitting him with a shot.
Yeah, I know. I would agree. Rampage, I think, only shot is to land a big shot in that first round, and if he does not land that shot, I'm switching it up to Chael.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I just really want to see the theatrics because if you guys haven't paid attention to Rampage Jackson earlier on in his career, the man could promote. He has a very interesting and unique sense of humor, and Chael Sonnen comes from those old wrestling promo days, and he's always been entertaining. So
far, both of those guys have been quite subdued so far when you see the interviews. I'm a little surprised at how I was expecting this to be the big promo fight to kick it off, and I think that's kind of what Bellator was expecting. But so far, the first two interviews that I've heard from both of those guys hasn't been a barn burner.
Maybe as the time goes by and the fight gets closer, they'll get a little bit more agitated with a weight cut or something. No, they don't even have to weight cut. Oh, my God.
I was going to say, weight cut my what?
Yeah, maybe just Fight Week Emotions gets in there, and maybe we'll see something. But I miss the good old days with both of them, and hopefully it's going to be good.
All right, and with that, we are going to wrap this episode up. I'd like to thank my co-host, Will, who is going to have to do 300 push-ups for accepting my Cyborg versus Holly Holm challenge. And if for some reason Holly Holm loses, guys, pray for me because I can do 100 but not 150. And with that, we are out.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts MMA Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.